Yeah, so coming back to the point, so I would say that the inflection point came in 2011, right? And then the second inflection point I would say came in 2016, right? And during 2011 to 2016, you had some of the successful startups at that time was Flipkart and Ola. These were the most successful startups, and those startups started growing fast. They were being valued at GMVs. They were being valued at they're not being valued at traditional finance metrics, right? But still, the thing is that the funds which were investing in Series B and Series C stage, they were still looking at some financial metrics. Okay. And in 2016-17 timeframe, what happened is that Chinese money started entering India.
Okay.
Okay. So till 2016-17, I would say it's purely US money.
Purely, is it?
Purely US money, and the Indian domestic capital was just starting to come. A lot of, I still remember in 2014-15 when I was part of my initial fund, we had to go and educate people what is VC and what are the kind of returns you can expect in VC and what is the time frame that you have to look at it. So all these things, we had to educate the entire market, and none of the family offices or HNI individuals even had VC as an asset class in their portfolio.
One small digression. So, what is the difference between high net worth individuals? The way I'm thinking, very rich guys. Okay. Family office is what, inherited money, is it, or?
So it could be inherited money. It could be people who even made a obscene amounts of wealth, and they have to what they do is that, so for example, if you have $1 billion with you, right, and you don't want to give it to a wealth manager to manage. So in my opinion, HNI money is basically people who gives it to a wealth manager or who outsources his wealth, and family office or mega people who are probably wealthier than $100 million, right? So they create family offices wherein they employ a group of money managers who manage their capital. That's called family office.
Okay.
Right? So I think in India probably 100 million is too much, but anybody over 100 crores can easily set up their own family office.
Again, I don't mean to be a jerk here, but I don't mean to be a snob here, but 100 crores is also, like, when you think about it, $1 million, not a lot of money, right? It's $10 million.
Yeah, it is $10 million in today's scheme, but still, if you have 100 crores, you can probably invest in 1 or 2 crores in a VC fund. See, the minimum amount required to invest in a VC fund, as per stipulated by SEBI, is 1 crore.
Okay.
There's an angel fund concept where you can invest minimum 25 lakhs, but from a VC fund, the minimum ticket size for an investor to invest is 1 crore.
Understood.
Okay. And in my opinion, that just investing in one VC fund is not going to give you enough risk diversification. So you have to invest in at least 2 to 3. So unless you have at least 100 crores with you, I don't think VC is the right asset class for you because it's just too risky. You can't afford to lose money. So I would say the cutoff is 100 crores.
One more digression, which is generally for a VC fund, how many LPs will be there?
Yeah, it depends from VC to VC, fund to fund, and from where they're raising money, right? So Indian local homegrown funds, which raises money from Indian source of capital, I think one big chunk they will get from SIBI, right? So they may get but SIBI has got a stipulation that only up to 35% of a fund size they will invest, right? So, or from any government sources, that's the maximum amount that you can raise. So the balance 65% has to be raised from other sources of capital. So most of these people, they raise from other HNIs and all that. Most of these HNIs and all, they'll invest 1 to 5 crores, right? That is the typical ticket size. So, initial days, for example, Bloom was one of the initial funds to be set up, right? I think they set it up in 2011, 12. And during that time frame, they had I think 60, 70 LPs.
Bloom is Indian based, or is it
Bloom
an offshoot?
Is purely an Indian
homegrown, is it?
Homegrown fund, and started by Karthik and Sanjay Nath. Okay. So Sanjay and Karthik.
Both are Nath, is it, or?
No, both are Karthik Reddy and Sanjay Nath.
Okay.
So they set up. They were also probably the initial homegrown VC funds in the country. So when they raised money, they raised it from a huge number of
Understood.
So they had at that time SIDBI and all was not set up, right? SIDBI was set up only in 2016. So when they raised money, they had 60, 70 people. And when I was there, part of my initial fund, in Xfinity Venture Partners, which also raised primarily from local Indian entrepreneurs. So this we raised in 2013-14 time frame. And so at that time also we had like, I think 50-60 for 120 crore fund.
50-60.
Around 50-60 rupees, yeah.
Okay. I cut you off when you were talking about Chinese money was being pouring in at about 16-17.
So 16-17, what happened is there were a lot of these, homegrown Chinese tech funds, tech companies, right? So Tencent, Alibaba, and Xiaomi. All these guys were like, they grew to such massive extent that they were almost competing with the big tech of US. So today we see that the market cap of Alibaba, Tencent are literally collapsed, right? Whereas the US mega cap tech funds have all grown so much in size, but the Chinese ones have fallen. But in 2016-17 they really grew massively, and they had a massive cash pool with them, right? So Alibaba as well as Tencent. There is rumors that part of the money was given by the Chinese government, right? And they also had a very strategic intent when they wanted to invest. It was not purely financial, and they wanted to invest purely in the consumer space. Both US funds as well as the consumer or Chinese funds, very surprisingly, they just wanted to invest in Indian consumption sector or consumer sector, right? So they were not too keen investing in Indian tech, or I would say deep tech, or enterprise tech sector.
I have to ask, because you mentioned Chinese government. Was it mostly for, when you mentioned strategic, is it surveillance purposes or am I missing
I don't
something?
know. So I can't. I don't want to
Speculate.
blindly speculate. Yeah. But they were investing mostly in the consumption sector, right? And part of the money did come from Chinese government. So which is the reason why India banned it in 2019 or 2020.
Oh, India banned Chinese money, is it?
So India banned Chinese money. So Chinese investors can't invest in India.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
So either an institution or you're a HNI. So they've not gone and told explicitly that you cannot invest.
Oh.
But what they have done is that if any of the neighboring countries, if you want to invest, they've created I think a 8 or 9 country list. So if you have investors from any of these countries, then you have to get an explicit approval from RBI or SEBI, I think so.
Which is not a ban. I mean,
it is not bad, but then
making it very difficult.
It just made difficult, right? So practically, if you have to go one by one and get the approval, it just became very difficult.
I was thinking of like a TikTok ban where it's just off.
No, along with the TikTok ban, they did this.
Okay.
So which is not talked about too much, but then they did this. So Alibaba, for example, has invested in so many Indian startups. For example, Paytm is the most glaring example of Alibaba's investment in India.
Okay.
And so they were not able to invest further, or they had a lot of pressure from the Indian government to give them an exit out.
That's called divesting, is it?
Divesting. So now Paytm is listed on the stock exchange. So I believe they are slowly exiting out. So their stake has been continuously decreasing in Paytm. They can't do it at one shot, then the price will collapse. So they're doing it slowly.
So,
but no new investment of Chinese money has come.
So just to extend the loop on China, so does that mean that the Chinese story in Indian ecosystem is over?
Yes, it is. I think that is purely driven by geopolitics. So I don't think India and China trust each other, and especially Indians are very wary, especially with the Galwan incident that happened.
The border shooting.
The border shooting and all that. So, and then there's been a lot of instances. I've just read it, so I cannot ascertain it. But then there's been a lot of hacking incidents or surveillance incidents from China into India. So the government, they banned TikTok in 2020. So along with that, they banned all Chinese investments.
I was so sad when TikTok was banned. I was a huge user of TikTok. I was so sad. Another thing was like,
the good thing about China and most of the investment, they did a lot of investment in loan apps and all that. I won't say it's a good thing, but until talking, the typical profile of Chinese investment has been A, in loan apps, B, it has been a lot of this, vernacular, startups, right? So startups which were focused on tier 2 cities, or which are focused on giving vernacular content. So they invested a lot of these kind of deals. and third has been general, e-commerce type startups. So these are only three things that they've been mostly focused on, which is what I think probably the government felt that, this is not, that is, they're not looking at financial returns per se, but they just want to get some data about Indian citizens. And so
That's not possible, right? I mean, just to speculate a little bit, like I'm not sure how that would, unless they have like explicit like backend, what is
access.
that? Access. Like it seems a little far fetched. I don't know.
So, there were the rumors, and this probably only those companies can actually, confirm. But most of these companies which got funded by Chinese investors, they had to use the local, like Ali Cloud as a backend.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was also one of the stipulations of investments, I believe, at that time.
Okay. Then there is obviously also
There was a backdoor. This one, though China has completely declined it all the time, and both these companies, like even today, if you see TikTok is not banned in the US, but there's always a rumor floating around in the US that TikTok is able to snoop on American citizens. But ByteDance is saying that we are not given access at all.
So this is like the what is that, double-edged sword for Chinese government, right? Like in the sense that even if they don't care about American data or Indian data, the fact that they are snooping on their own citizens is enough. Paranoia is enough evidence that they can do it tomorrow. Even if they will never do it, that fear is enough to unsettle everyone.
Absolutely. And I think that, a lot of the Western investors who saw Chinese investors as a big competition probably used that as a way for a lot of the companies, a lot of countries to just stay away from the Chinese investments.
Sorry, so it's you're saying it might be beneficial for the US investors,
Of course, it was big. India became like an open slate for Western companies, right? So there were only two pools of capital which was emerging, right? In 2015-16 time frame, there were only two big pools. One was from China and one was from US, and Europe to a small extent. But then Europe is anyway allied to the US. So there were only these two competing pools of capital. And then once Chinese in 2020, once we banned the Chinese, India became open ground for the Americans.
Do you not find that